Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome back to the Arabic Fluency channel after a short break, and I hope all of you are doing great. Today, inshallah, we are going to talk about the biography of Imam al-Shafi'i like you have never heard before. Maybe you have heard these things before, but I have tried to pick out the lesser known facts and stories about the great Imam. Abdullāh Muhammad ibn Idrīs al-Shāfi'i was born in the year 150 Hijri in Gaza during the Abbasid Caliphate. His father died at a young age, leaving him in the care of his mother, who then returned with him to the city of Mecca. And this is where Imam al-Shafi'i grew up. He learned archery and he became so skilled in it until he could hit 9 out of every 10 targets. He then turned his attention to language and poetry, and he excelled in both of these over his peers. His attention was then brought to fiqh, in which he pioneered and towered over the people of his time. He says about himself, "I stayed with the Bedouin Arabs for 20 years, learning their poetry and language, and memorized the Quran until there was not a single word in it except that I knew its meaning and its connotations, except for 2 words. One of these 2 words was the word the saha, and the other one he had forgotten. And later he read the meaning of the word the saha, which means to corrupt, is of Sudanese origin and not of Arabic origin. Wallahu a'lam. Now let's talk about the travels of Imam al-Shafi'i. When he was just 15 years old, his teacher Muslim ibn Khalid al-Zanji told him while still in Mecca, "Issue verdicts, O Abdullāh, for it is time for you to issue verdicts." He asked him to start giving fatwas when he was just 15 years old, but this was just the beginning of the journey of Imam al-Shafi'i. His first journey seeking knowledge was to the city of Medina to meet Imam Malik rahimahullah. And to Imam Malik he read the Muwatta. It is narrated that when he wanted to read the Muwatta to him, Imam Malik said, "Look for someone to read it for you correctly." And Imam al-Shafi'i said, "I will read it." And then he read it to Imam Malik from his memory. And Imam Malik was impressed with this young man, and he is reported to have said, "In yaku ahadun yuflih fahadha al-ghulam." If anyone were to succeed, then it is this boy. After learning from Imam Malik, he traveled to Yemen, where he learned ilm al-firasa, which is a science of visual acumen, perception and insight. This was a field of knowledge our ulama used to learn, which helps us to look at the physical traits of a person and know more about him. And Imam al-Shafi'i excelled in this science. He then went on to Baghdad, where he learned the fiqh of Imam Abu Hanifa from the scholars of the Hanafi madhab. He then returned to Mecca, where he formulated the principles of fiqh. Imam al-Shafi'i was one of the founders of the science of usul al-fiqh, which is the principles of fiqh, or the general rules of fiqh, using which rules can be derived. And subhanallah, this methodology was something unheard of in the past, and thus a new school of fiqh was born. The madhab of Imam al-Shafi'i was born. When he returned to Baghdad a second time, he turned the world of fiqh upside down. Previously, if anyone wanted to teach in Baghdad, the scholars or the students of the Hanafi madhab, they would come to their classes where they are teaching and they would ask difficult questions, difficult masail of fiqh, and this person would be unable to answer and he will be humiliated. And thus, none other than the Hanafis were able to teach fiqh. But when Imam al-Shafi'i came, his fiqh was something unheard of before, and no one had the answer to him. And Imam al-Shafi'i's students multiplied, and his new madhab started spreading like wildfire. It is reported that Abdurrahman al-Mahdi said when he read the book of Imam al-Shafi'i, al-Risala, I did not think that Allah has created the likes of this man. His final journey was to Egypt. It is said that he asked Rabi' ibn Sulaiman about the people of Egypt, and he told him they were divided between the madhabs of Imam Malik and Imam Abu Hanifa. And Imam al-Shafi'i said, I hope to go to Egypt and bring them something that will turn them away from these two madhabs. And Rabi' says, by Allah, this is what he did. He went to Egypt and the people gathered around him and they accepted this new madhab. It is said that the madhab of Imam al-Shafi'i was spreading so fast that some of the students of the other madhabs made dua against him. One of them would say in sujood, Oh Allah, cause al-Shafi'i to die so that the knowledge of Imam Malik is not lost. Subhanallah. Some of the sayings of Imam al-Shafi'i. Al-Muzani said, I heard al-Shafi'i say, he who learns the Quran increases his value. He who discusses fiqh increases his stature. He who writes hadith strengthens his argument. He who looks into language softens his nature. He who looks into mathematics refines his opinion, and he who does not protect himself is not availed by his knowledge. Abu Thawr said, I heard al-Shafi'i say, كل حديث عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فهو قولي وإن لم تسمعوه مني. Every hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is my opinion, even if you have not heard this opinion from me. It is narrated that he said, if you fear becoming impressed by your deeds, then remember whose pleasure you seek, and what blessing you desire, and what punishment you fear, for the one who thinks about these things belittles his own deeds. Al-Harmala said, al-Shafi'i was once asked about a person who had a date in his mouth, and he said, if I eat it, then my wife is divorced, and if I spit it out, then my wife is divorced. And al-Shafi'i said, let him eat half of it and spit out the other half. The manaqib, or the virtues of Imam al-Shafi'i. Ibn Abd al-Hakam said, ما رأيت الشافعي يناظر أحدا إلا رحمت ولو رأيت الشافعي يناظرك لظننت أنه سبع يأكلك وهو الذي علم الناس الحجج. I have not seen a Shafi'i debate anyone except that I pitied him. If a Shafi'i debated you, you would think that you are being eaten by a wild animal. He was the one who taught the people the art of establishing the argument. Al-Harmala also said, Al-Shafi'i said, كنت أقرئ الناس وأنا ابن 13 سنة وحفظت الموطأ قبل أن أحتلم. I used to teach the people the Quran when I was 13 years old, and I memorized the Muwatta before puberty. Imam Ahmad walked beside al-Shāfi'ī holding the reins of the animal he was mounting. When Yahya ibn Ma'in heard of this, he was upset and criticized Imam Ahmad, because Imam Ahmad was a great scholar in his own right, and he saw this to be beneath him. And Imam Ahmad replied to him, "Yes, O Abu Zakaria, had you taken the reins on the other side, then you would have benefited. By Allah, the one who wants to learn fiqh, let him accompany Imam al-Shafi'i." Ahmad ibn Salama al-Naysaburi said, Ishaq ibn Rahawayh married a woman whose previous husband owned the books of Imam al-Shafi'i and had passed away, and he did not marry her except for the books. I hope you enjoyed this and benefited also, inshallah. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.